Okay, let's get started. Thank you everyone for attending. This has been our most popular webinar so far, so excited about that, and we'll hop into it here. A couple of housekeeping things on the front end. If you have a question, drop that in the Q&A area, and we'll either get that answered in line or go through those at the end, just depending on how topical it is or if it fits into the webinar. So feel free to drop those in at any time, even on the front end here. There will be a survey that will pop up here shortly of a couple questions, just so we can get a sense of why people are here. And thirdly, if you want to set up a quick 10-minute call with somebody on our team just to go through individual one-on-one questions, if it's something that we don't have the time to cover in a short webinar like this, then we'll drop a link in the chat as well, and you can click on that and book some time. So without further ado, let's get started again. Really excited about this one, probably the most excited that we've been about any of the webinars we've done so far, if you've attended any of the other ones. If you haven't, you can certainly drop onto our site, and there are recordings of those. We have a ton of customers in multiple industries: cosmetics, food, beverage, personal care, nutraceuticals, and others. And one commonality that we hear from them is one of their biggest pain points is is compliance, and that can take many forms, whether it's documentation, um, programs, SOPs, all of those sorts of things. We're going to go through specifically control points today, but this is an issue that comes up with all of our customers and prospects that we talk to. So I'm going to spend a real short period of time. We're not here to go through a slideshow, but just kind of going through some of the things that we find with our customers. And the good news is, if you're experiencing some of these things, you're not alone, because we've compiled these by talking to thousands of contacts out in the industry. But there's really two camps here: people that are doing these things manually, and folks that are system driven, which is what we're trying to do. If you're doing them manually, a lot of times they're on paper and spreadsheets. They're kind of everywhere, very difficult to keep organized. You'll end up with a fear when these audits come around. You're afraid what the questions they're going to ask and whether or not you're going to be able to access the information that you need to get through the audits. Causes extra work for everyone. If you're system driven and do a good job, everything's more organized. It's all in one place, which is great. It kind of forces compliance, and we'll go through that when we talk about the control points. And most of all, it can engender positive brand equity out in the marketplace if you're, um, concerned about safety and compliance. Wherefour, we take big pride in being the compliance ERP. A lot of companies out there will do inventory management and recipes and those sorts of things. That's kind of a given. But what we do is layer compliance on top of it. And again, the industries that I talked about earlier all have compliance requirements that end up actually being fairly similar across industries. Um, I'm not going to go through all these things here, but again, the big things that we want to talk about are like the audit trails, being able to get through audits very easily, and just having the confidence that you've done everything that you need to do to produce compliant products and not have any issues down the road. So without further ado, let's hop into the product here quickly, and we're going to go through a few things here. I'm in the compliance area here, which is where everything lives. This is where you're going to set up your compliance programs. This is where all the results are. We're not going to go through them today, but I just want to make sure that you understand. One piece of this is just documentation, whether it's things like certificates of analysis, your SOPs, vendor certification documents. All of those things can be uploaded into Wherefour and stored here and easily accessible and searchable. Again, we're not going to talk about those today. We're going to talk more about testing and control points. So let's get into those. Um, Basically, the focus of getting these things up and running, there are a variety of steps to setting them up and then embedding them into your processes. What we try to do is you force compliance by embedding compliance events into your actual workflows. So when I'm receiving material Uh, I do the things that I need to do, whether it's to capture a C of A, to take a refrigerated truck temperature test. I embed them into production if it's quality checks and things like that, quarantining stock, releasing things from quarantine, those sorts of things. So what we do, the first step of this is to set up test definitions and control points. And I'm just going to show you, but basically what you need to know here is these are completely customizable. So if I want to have something like again, when I receive material in a refrigerated truck, specifically, we're doing this with eggs. Um, we have a refrigerated truck temperature check, and in this case, the temperature of the truck must be below 40 Fahrenheit, or the material needs to be rejected. So basically, we set up tests in the system, and then we attach these tests to events called control points. And in this case, when a refrigerated truck arrives at our facility, we want to do a couple things. One is this refrigerated truck temperature test, and then we've got a truck inspection that maybe we're doing with every single receipt that we get, whether it's a visual inspection for cleanliness, make sure there's no, you know, pest infestation in the truck or something like that. So we basically have a two-step process every time we receive something in a refrigerated truck. We take the truck temperature and we do our normal truck inspection. Once we do that, it gets documented in the system. And then we have an example of that is, we've received this purchase order. We took our steps here. It's complete. Who did it? What date it was on? And then it's also recording the specific stock lot of material that was received. So if you have an auditor come to site and they say you received this product, this lot code of eggs on this date. Prove to me that you took the temperature of that truck to make sure that the eggs were good. Well, you can go in here and plug in that lot code into the system here, and it's automatically going to pull up any tests that were done attached to that lot code. So again, the value of having everything in one place and injecting these things into the workflows. We have a number of other things here that I'll go through very quickly. Again, we try to do these webinars pretty quickly in about 15 minutes, realizing everyone's busy. We can certainly get into this in more depth in a personalized demo with your specific control points. Another thing that you might do is like a nightly closing checklist where somebody closing down your facility, you want to document that you did specific things every night. Again, these are completely customizable. We're going to check chemical levels. We're going to empty the dirty rags and lab coats, empty all the trash, depressurize hoses. Again, we can do things like check the freezer temperature, check the refrigerator temperature. So we can have actual tests that are injected into this or just checklists of things that you want to make sure your employees do on a nightly basis and that you have those documented. So task lists like that are examples of these things. And again, they're completely customizable. So basically, we're going to combine tests and checklists with control points, and then we're going to inject those into processes. I'm going to do two examples here really quickly. One would be we've gotten real familiar with checking in of eggs and doing those control points. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you how we take care of some of these things in production, which many times is a little bit more involved and complicated. So I'm going to hop into the vendor area here, and I've queued up a purchase order. We'll look into it here. Basically queued up a purchase order for some of those eggs that we've talked so much about already. And so what we're going to do is we're going to receive that material, receive it into inventory here, and then the system is automatically going to queue up control points for us. And basically what's happened is in the system, those eggs that we just received into inventory have been put on hold, which means I couldn't use those in production right now because it's pending the tests that we need to do. And we've got our control point queued up actually in the workflow of receiving. It's also going to be sitting in here in compliance if I just want to go into compliance and get the list of things that I need to do at any given time, I can do that. But for your employees that are actually receiving the material, we inject it into the workflow here. So all they have to do is click on it. We've got our two tests that we need to perform. The refrigerated test is actually going to be the one here. And again, it must be below 40. So we'll say that this is 36 and that the test has passed. And you can capture a signature here if you want to. Save that. And what that action has done, actually, that's the one that's attached to releasing the material from hold. So now if I go in and look at this particular lot, it's actually an active inventory. And I also want to do the truck inspection here where I'm going to go through and just say the truck is clean, no sign of pests. And again, we're going to say that we performed that test. There's no pass fail there, essentially attached to inventory, and I'll receive that. So now we basically have the record of we received this lot of eggs, perform the test, perform the truck inspection, and again, that's ready for an auditor. If you need to print this out, you can quickly print it out with the results of the test here and give that particular document to the auditor very easily, and it'll have the signature on there and everything. So um, next, we're going to talk about the production side of things. And we've got something really cool here called workflows that I'm going to go through. But basically, what happens in production is a lot of times you'll do something. You need to perform a quality check before you go to step B. And so I've got, in this example, I've got a multi-step production where we're making chocolate bars. There are a variety of steps in this process from start to finish. And it goes like this, where I'm making bulk chocolate, I'm molding it, I wrap it into bars, and then I package it into cases. Well, what we see here is what we've also done here is we've injected a control point into the process. So the way this works is I make bulk chocolate. In order for that bulk chocolate to be available to mold into bars, I need to perform a quality check as part of my process. If I either don't do that or it fails that, and that can be things like, maybe it's viscosity or perform a pH test, some sort of moisture check, whatever is required for your products, those can get actually injected into the workflows so that you ensure that they're done, number one. Number two, you're not producing product with defective material. And also number three, this data is going to be easily available in the compliance area. If you have an auditor come in, or God forbid, there's a recall, you can know that you went through all of your steps in the process to ensure that the quality steps were followed. So you create these workflows, injecting tests and tasks into processes. This could be a machine cleaning where I make the bulk chocolate, then I have to make sure I clean the machine for the next batch that goes through. So they can be tasks and or tests that you inject. You can have as many as you want in the system. So let's take another workflow that we have set up here is we're going to make these 1 pound packages of chocolate where we make bulk chocolate, and then we're going to package it up in the process. We actually, in the BOM, or bill of materials for making the bulk chocolate, we can inject a quality check. So when I combine these ingredients, I get my yield of the bulk chocolate, and then I have a control point injected into the process so that once I complete that, I've got some things that I need to do. So let's go and see how that works basically. So I've queued up a work order for this. I'm going to execute the steps of the work order here very quickly um, in the process here. So basically, I'm going to pull stock. I'll talk really quickly about this, but we do full traceability of lot codes. So system is saying I'm using this lot code of cocoa beans. All 183 grams are coming from it. The system has determined based on first in, first out, which lot code I should use. And so that's basically the traceability component of compliance, which is embedded into our system already. We're going to essentially auto-complete this work order and get the material ready for the next step in the process. And let's auto-complete this. And we've made our bulk chocolate here. And let's pull that. We're going to pull that stock and go to our next step here. And and again, we haven't had the control point, and we're just going through the process of executing a work order in the system. And um, again, we're going to record stock pulls, create the inventory, And the next thing we'll do, we've made the results here, and what this is, oh, okay, we've made it, we've made our product here. But again, this product is sitting on hold or on quarantine in the system. I'm actually going to open another window here where I'm going to go into an inventory module. And what this is going to do is I'm just going to filter for stock status of anything we currently have on hold right now. And we've got some products on hold here, and it's going to sit on hold until we execute our control point here. So again, I click this, it's injected into my workflow. So the employee executing that work order in production can go in here, and in this example, we've got a quality check. So we're going to go in here and we've got a quality screen. I just put a generic quality screen in here. Again, these can be whatever you want them to be. And we're going to pass that quality screen, capture my signature if that's required. Incidentally, I didn't mention you can have supervisor approval. So your employee could do this, but in order for it to actually pass, you could have a step where the supervisor has to approve it before it actually gets released into inventory. So here again, we've got that quality screen that we've done, and we've got another step that we have to do in the process, which is the machine sanitation. And again, this might be, wash down the machine after it's produced, sanitize the belt, whatever that might be. And we performed that. So that we know that we've done that. We've captured a signature. And so again, we've documented that we've made this lot of material. We've performed these particular quality checks on the process, and that material is now released for inventory. If it's a finished good, it can actually go out to the customer. So that's basically a couple of quick workflows where we've gone through and executed compliance steps as part of the business. We're forcing compliance, and it's not some outside process where somebody's bringing out a clipboard and you might lose that piece of paper or some other person has to go to a spreadsheet. We've actually pushed the compliance requirements down to the production floor or at the supervisor level, whatever you want, and it can all get done as part of executing production and documented all in one system. So you don't have any filing system, you don't have to worry about Excel or any of that stuff. You can make sure you're producing compliant products as part of your production workflows. So those are the two examples I went through. We do have a couple of questions. Can you share what a test results document might look like for a work order? Sure, you can do like a printable view of any of these things. And our documents are, so this is basically our quality check. It's a control point. We did a quality screen here. Again, this can contain a lot more data. Whatever your test is, it's going to contain, if it's a checkbox, it'll contain that. If it's a numerical result, like a pH test, it'll contain that as well. So, and all of these things are printable. There's also within an executed work order, there's a batch report on any of these things. So there's basically what did we use, what lot codes, the quantity of those things, the vendor that the raw materials came from, the quantity and cost and all that stuff. So there's also a printable view of that. Is it possible to embed corrective action if there's a fail? You can, as part of a, you can set up, you can set up a tasks attached to that. So if it fails, we have to do that. We don't specifically call it a corrective action at this point in time, but if something fails, you can have an SOP in there that directs you to another task. The material would stay on hold if it did go into quarantine, or if it failed, you can actually put it into a quarantine status, pending any sort of subsequent testing that might be attached to another control point called, failed failed pH test. You might have a control point attached to that that could then either dispose of the material or release it from quarantine if you were able to rework it or something like that. Okay, so those are two questions. If hopefully that answered your question. Again, if you have kind of more in-depth things or specific tests that you want to go through, certainly feel free to set up some extra time there. So I really appreciate everybody stopping in today. Again, I know that was pretty quick. We just wanted to show some quick examples of the flexibility of the system. Um, and again, if you want to reach out, certainly go to our website for more information. You can send me an email. You can visit the website and schedule a discovery call or demo there as well. So again, appreciate everybody's time today. I hope you learned something about Wherefour and then also how the difference between having a manual system and something that's actually embedded into your ERP or software can really make a world of difference. So have a great day and thanks again.